Hello friends, welcome back to Learn with Lakshman. Today we'll talk about the verb phrase. Verb is a word in the sentence that denotes action. It carries an idea in the sentence. Verb shows the expression of thought. It is the word that is used to tell or assert something about some person or a thing. A sentence has its existence only because of the verb. Friends, we know that verbs are classified into several groups. The first classification is that of the main verbs and auxiliary verbs. Auxiliary verbs are classified into main auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. Modal auxiliaries are further classified into modals and semi-modals. Similarly, the main verbs are also classified into several categories like regular verbs and irregular verbs, finite verbs and non-finite verbs, transitive verbs and intransitive verbs, dynamic verbs and stative verbs, linking verbs and phrasal verbs, and so on. If you really want to know about the various types of verbs, you can go back to the video on verbs and watch it. The link of the video is given in the description box. We know that phrase is a group of words. Now, verb phrase is a group of words in which verb is the head. That means the group of words that functions exactly at the place of the verb is a verb phrase. Remember, non-finite verbs are not the verb phrase, or they cannot be the part of the verb phrase. Thus, the verb phrase is formed of the finite verbs and not of the non-finite verbs. To know more about finite and non-finite verbs, you can again refer back to the video on verbs. The link is provided in the description box. The verb phrase is generally formed of a main verb and auxiliary verbs. It may also consist of a modal auxiliary verb or a semi-modal. Look at these examples. Mukta wanders freely. Mukta is wandering freely. Mukta should not wander freely. Mukta has been wandering freely for last 2 years. The underlined words in these sentences are the examples of verb phrases. Verb phrase is a group of words that does the work of a verb. For example, have been writing, had sent, had presented, will have been writing, etc. A verb phrase in a sentence can consist of one verb or a verb with helping verbs. For example, Joy writes a story, or Joy can write stories. Verb phrase also consists of negative forms of the verb. The negative forms are used by adding negative maker not to the verb. The negative maker is considered as the part of the verb phrase. For example, he has not been working. Analysis of a verb phrase. Analysis of a verb phrase is done by using binary cuts. Generally, main verbs and auxiliary verbs are separated. Each of these parts are then analyzed to the level of last grammatical function of the word. Verb phrase is written as VP in the analysis. Analysis of a verb phrase is generally done by using the tree diagram. In the immediate constituent analysis of a sentence, the whole of the predicative part is regarded as verb phrase. We know that verb has tense, aspect and mood, that is present tense, past tense or future tense. Aspects are progressive aspect or perfective aspect, and moods can be indicative, subjunctive or imperative. These aspects and moods are also reflected in the analysis of the verb phrase. Have a look at this example. In this example, the verb phrase have written is analyzed in terms of auxiliary verbs and main verbs, and then its tense, aspect and mood is indicated in the analysis. While discussing the tenses, we've seen that the tense of the sentence is generally indicated by the auxiliary verb and not by the main verb. Main verbs indicate the aspect of the sentence. If you want to know more about the tenses, please refer to the video on tenses. The link of the video is given in the description box. The verb phrase is generally analyzed by using a tree diagram and binary cuts. Let's have a look at a few examples. In this example, the verb phrase is writing is analyzed in terms of auxiliary verbs and main verbs, and its tense, aspect and mood is also reflected in the analysis. Have a look at another examples in which the verb phrase will have finished is analyzed in terms of auxiliary verbs and main verbs, and the auxiliary verbs are further classified into main auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries, or primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries, and tense, aspect and mood of the sentence is indicated in the analysis. Friends, remember, verb phrase or verb is the most important part of the sentence. It is also called the heart of the sentence. It is really difficult to find a sentence without a verb in English. Therefore, it is very important to understand verbs properly. I request you to go to the video on verbs and see it once, and also request you to find some good readings on the verbs. Hope you have liked this video. If liked, then like, share and subscribe for the channel if you have not done it yet. Thank you very much for watching.